So we get some intro music. Yeah. Hey.
Oh my God!
Coming in hot and prepared, unlike us.
That is so stinking cool. I think this first episode, I'm going to be more excited just all the little tools and things we have.
Every button gets hit.
More than anything else. Well, I guess we'll jump right into it. This is our intro
yeah.
episode. You got the
Atypical
one and only
Intellects.
Yes. We'll get into how we got to that name in just a second. First, we'll talk about myself, Mr. Mike Root, and then my good friend here with the beautiful radio voice. And you get to see him on the video. He is just gorgeous. Mr.
Yeah,
Cody
I hope it
Vice.
goes both ways.
Yeah. I'm trying to work on my beard to get like yours.
Time and effort. You treat it right, it grows right.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So we need to start figuring out which ones we want to sponsor. We start dropping brands.
I got my brush all the time trying to get
club. Yeah. Well, yeah. First episode, Atypical Intellects. Appreciate everybody that's already gotten behind it. Pretty off to a pretty strong start without even putting anything out there.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Overnight.
Nice little social media footprint already, and we're just recording episode 1.
So, well, you got Mike, most commonly known for Copper Sky Distillery here in Longmont. Trying to get him known everywhere. So you guys are New York, Florida, Texas, all coming out here pretty soon.
We're trying to creep around the nation. Florida, my home state.
Oh yeah. I don't know about nothing.
I'll get into Alabama and Louisiana soon.
Yeah, where we just jump right in to kind of get some things going, what you guys can expect. We're kind of calling this our intro episode, so to speak, kind of give you guys a little bit of filler on us more than anything else. But, just what we're going to be doing, what our goal is for Atypical Intellects.
Yeah. So I guess we can start with the name, right? I've gotten a lot of questions and some good positive feedback on it because, it's a simple, you see our little logo, we got a simple little logo. But the name really stemmed from, and you're going to get to know Cody and I here over this first episode, but I'm sure you can tell with both of our accents, we're just two Southern boys that are transplanted out here in Colorado and had some very interesting life experiences so far, made some really cool friends. So when you talk to us, before you get to know us, the first thing you think is, oh man, these two Southern boys, what do they know? What are they doing out here? They're just out here to hike in the mountains.
It's usually the first question. Where are you from?
Exactly.
Where's
that accent from?
There's no one ever calling me a native, especially in Colorado.
No.
It's just not happening.
Yeah, so the name, the Atypical Intellects, you'll get to know us. Between the two of us, we have tons of formal education. We're running and have ran multiple companies at the same time, all kind of crazy experiences. So that's why we really called ourselves the Atypical Intellects. You don't see us walking around in business suits and driving super fancy cars and talking all prim and proper. We can hang with any other big dogs in the business world, but we're still true to our Southern roots and who we are as people. So that's kind of where that fun little play on words for the name comes from.
That's really well in all circles.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what's surprising too. Like we usually meet up with a group or like, oh, come out here. You'll introduce you guys. 20-minute conversations. We're walking out. Everybody's feeling like you've been family for years.
Right.
That's pretty typical.
Yeah.
That's the standard. Instantly jump in like, oh shit. And then usually somebody from somewhere, went somewhere. Oh,
there's some connection. Yeah. That's the fun thing about being we're pretty hospitable people.
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope other people feel the same way.
Yeah. Do all those likes on Facebook mean that people actually like us, or?
So.
Well, let's jump into it. Let's let people get to know who you are, Cody. So
before we get going, just I guess like the normal podcast thing, right? Don't forget, go check us out on all the platforms. We're going to do our best to kind of hit them all as we get this going and things start to jump up. But we appreciate everybody that's already jumped that way. But make sure to go check us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. What else we got there? It's going to be Spotify, going to be iTunes, kind of going to be on all across it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we got an awesome producer here. Can't see him, but he's really the brains behind this operation, helping us get launched. Cody and I are just two fun little voices, but Mark in the background's got us all set up with this really cool equipment, and he's doing all of our editing, so huge shout out to him. He's going to be giving us on all the platforms, so we'll definitely be, as you see with the video, we'll be on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, stuff like that. But yeah, we'll keep our social media updated pretty frequently. We're pretty interactive people. We already dropped the video before we started, so we like to have fun. What is this bad boy?
Homer T. Lee.
God.
Yeah, I mean, we got to start early, right? That's one thing we were talking about to everybody that we've talked about so far, right? Their first impression, like, oh man, it's bourbon. You guys are going to jump out. This is going to be a great bourbon pilot. What are you guys going to do? You know, Mike owns a distillery. I'm kind of in all realms of it. I'm working on my way toward being able to do some distilling of my own and stuff here in the near future. And, you know, it's just a passion for both of us. So if everybody just assumed, like, oh, you guys are diving deep into it. So, like, trust me when we say bourbon is going to be a staple. There you go to clinking. Is going to be a staple in pretty much every episode. And we will kind of keep it lively. But we want to talk about everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we want to jump into sports. We want to, I told Mike when we were talking about getting going, we want to jump into all the things that don't divide people, right? Politics, family, sports,
current events.
Vaccinations, like all the medical stuff going on, the cancel culture. So a little bit of everything that everyone loves to talk about on a daily basis, especially at Thanksgiving.
Right. That's what brings everyone home on Thanksgiving. Right. But the thing that I think that's going to separate us is it's not going to be Cody and I. We're not the know-it-all professional. We're just the fun, like to meet people, hang out with people. We're going to have, guests on the show that are experts in their respective fields. So if that weekend we're talking about vaccinations or whatever we're talking about, someone's going to be on the show that is an expert in that. And we're just going to have some fun with them.
Absolutely.
Ping some questions off of them. So it's not going to be, we're not going to be the only two people on the show telling you what our opinion is and labeling as fact. It's going to be absolutely the opposite. You'll know when it's our opinion and we're just having fun. And we'll let the experts do the expert thing.
Definitely.
So let's talk about you for a second, so people can get to know you. Where are you at right now in your professional life? I know you got a lot going on down in Castle Rock.
I don't even know how to answer that sometimes these days. So people ask, what do you do, and you kind of get that stutter effect of, wait, which one, which part?
Right.
Like, which one are you talking about? I mean, we've got commercial real estate projects going on in Castle Rock. If you guys are familiar with Colorado, know Castle Rock is just booming, development-wise, growth, everything down there. We're trying to kind of get our fingers and our feet wet in that. Trying to make some roots, man. We've bounced around. Personally, I've been bouncing around since I was 18. The wife and I have been bouncing around since we met each other. So we're trying to set some roots with the kids now.
Yeah.
Charlotte and Nolan, two beautiful kids. Wife, Natalie. We're just trying to make a home here in Colorado, see if we can get some roots in the business world planted to keep us here long term. And that's where all the different avenues come in, because like you said, we got stuff going on in the bourbon world, some very cool stuff coming up for the state of Colorado, but we think, much bigger on everything, hopefully past Colorado, but Colorado Bourbon Trail, nonprofits. We were supposed to already have a bar and restaurant open, Bourbon Bayou, and that's kind of holding up. And we're going on to the next project that's still got to be built.
Yeah, don't just breeze over. Going, man. Don't be humble. This is the time to talk about yourself. Your food. Many awards. You make some daggone good Cajun food.
So from Louisiana, we all know how to cook. We came to Colorado and we're like, where can we go eat? Right? I mean, we want to eat our food. It was all the usual, the Lost Cajuns, the franchisee stuff. So we started our own food truck in COVID called Cajun Kings. Ran that for not even a year, because then we kind of started getting the drive into brick and mortar pretty quick with that, and won best of the best. And I mean, food is our passion. Family is really our passion, and that was kind of where the food came into it. So my brother, his family, my other brother, his family all moved up here. My wife's got her family here, and it was just a fun passion project we were able to do and kind of keep everybody in. We'll definitely get into more on, all those roots, kind of how that all comes together, all the food. But yeah, I mean, everything we're doing right now is really, again, just built around the family, trying to build something for us here in Colorado, something 20, 30 years from now, we want people to talk about us in a positive way, in a good way. And maybe we did something good for the area. So that's what we're working on.
It's a lot.
That's not even, that's like
that's
iceberg.
the surface.
Breathe a little bit, because there's so much more to keep going. Yeah, just the surface. We're going to be in Kentucky in a couple weeks or in a month, trying to further that education on the bourbon side and the legitimate knowledge. You guys have already been up there, but Moonshine University in Louisville, and great stuff those guys do. So we're going up there, taking a pretty long course that's going to hopefully come back with enough knowledge to feel confident to go out there and do it.
Yeah. It's a fun course. Yeah. You're going to have a lot of fun.
Excited for it. Yeah, those guys are great. So, I mean, even just talking to those guys ahead of time, getting out there, get you pretty pumped up for it. So, yeah, we're excited. I mean, also the people that have come out of there so far. Right. And just trying to look at that list and thinking about, how that could potentially be us down the road, coming out with a new brand or a new distillery, just some kind of new project hopefully comes out of it. But yeah, I mean, and, like I said, bourbon is the huge part. I mean, bourbon's pretty much every day.
Right.
Kind of what we want to build everything around. But yeah, I mean, dabbles in everything, right? Like, hopefully use that to open up avenues to all the other stuff we're doing.
Yep, that's what you do. That's how you build a little empire.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Till it gets to the point where you can't run it.
That's why you make good friends.
Yeah. Keep the circle tight. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, bourbon, whiskey, distillery, obviously that's our biggest things going on right now for both of us.
Right.
I mean, what do you guys got going on in the bourbon world? Copper Sky's, nonstop.
Yeah, it's been a very fun and entertaining first year and a half. I mean, good grief. When we talk to people and they say, how old are you? Like, oh yeah, we've been working for a year and a half. It's like, how in the world are you accomplishing some of these things? Honestly, it's my staff. And I'll always, point that back to them. I'm just the guy at the front of the pirate ship having fun and hanging off the side. They're the ones that are actually doing the really cool stuff. So, Isaac's got tons of awards for us in our blends and a bunch of different categories. Kaya's awesome. Got us, we're about to be in multiple states around the nation in under 2 years. So it's been a fun roller coaster that I just get to hang on to. But Copper Sky will be moving here too. So if you've been to the distillery, which is what we're shooting in now, 2,300 square feet, kind of small. It's quaint. It's fun. It's a good place to hang out. As you hear all the noises in the background, there's people back there working in the distillery. But in a few months, we'll be moving just around the corner off of Main Street in Longmont. So we're going to double the size. We've upgraded all of our equipment, so we'll be able to handle some of that growth a little bit better. Right now, I've got stuff everywhere. I mean, we're just busting at the seams.
Not a bad thing.
It's not.
Especially in the bourbon world. More barrels, the better.
You're definitely right. Especially in this, what do the people call, there's a bourbon shortage. It's not so much a bourbon shortage as much as there's the ability to buy the bourbon. Like, it's still there and people have it, but it's definitely one of those Southern, like, you got to know somebody to get it. You know what I mean? It's not.
See, when I hear people say that too about the bourbon shortage, I say, well, it's more of a lack of good bourbon.
Yep.
Because there's so little great, good bourbon. Yeah. Everybody wants it.
That's a great way to put it.
So, there's plenty of shit out there. You can walk into any store and see plenty of bourbon on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not worth your time. I mean, everybody their own. There's good stuff, bad stuff. Every palate's different. Right. We put 10 out here. We're all going to think differently of it. It is what it is. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's not enough great bourbon out there for the amount of consumers that want it.
Right. And, you and I, we don't like young bourbon. So it's not something, even though, we're transparent at Copper Sky, we source MGP, but that gives me the ability to give you a 5-year-old up to 16-year-old bourbon.
Right.
I'm not dropping a 1 and 2-year-old whiskey. I'm like, hey, enjoy it. Basically,
or like,
fun.
Look what we tried.
Yeah.
Like, we know it didn't turn out exactly what, but hey, we're putting it out there with a price tag anyway.
Right. And we've got, we're laying down new fills, so we're working on our own juice. We've just upgraded our entire equipment line, so we'll have everything's double and triple the size. So we'll be able to, make more whiskey and more rum and lay it down. But until it is, you got to make business decisions to keep the doors open. And my business decision will never be, here's a really young product. I just hope you like it so I can keep the lights on. No, I'm not going to do that.
Where do you guys feel like you're going to be at on the new project? When you think that's coming ahead, when you guys plan on making that transition? We've already been having the builder meetings, and so we're looking to open the doors at that new space February of next year. Nice.
So as with every project I do, even this podcast, you heard us talking about it 2 weeks ago, and here we are. I'm moving them along very quickly. I'm all about, and that's the government sees the opportunities that you're given.
Get it while you can,
absolutely.
Too, right now.
I mean, most good decisions are just time opportunities, and take too long and you miss them, and doesn't mean you won't have an opportunity in the future, but someone else is taking that opportunity. So perfect spot came up right in our wheelhouse, right where we want to be in the heart of Longmont. And so I was like, let's go execute.
Walking distance to Hefe's. Just throwing it out there.
That's your place right there.
Let's not forget to mention
That's free marketing. Now I gotta reach out to them and be like, hey, you gonna pay us?
We just make sure they remember us on Tequila and Taco Tuesdays, happy hour. Like, if you're looking for a taco, I'm going to just throw this out there. I got no relation to Hefe's. But ever since we come to Copper Sky, and the first time Mike took me there, I've literally brought every person that's ever come to Longmont with me has gone to Hefe's.
Oh, man.
And there's no point. I had to take them there. And it's always had it. $3 to $5 Dollar Street tacos will beat any taco that you can think in Colorado, in my opinion. Love me some Hefe's. So keep us in mind whenever we start throwing the sponsorships out there. Hefe's.
I'll tell you that. They got the best cheese dip.
I haven't had anything bad yet, so I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Just found out last time all the sauces they got. Started going in there that they sold and had all this stuff. And I went home.
Yeah, they got a whole line of
crazy stuff.
And the owner, he's a good dude. He's got a couple companies here in Longmont. He's a good dude.
Good. But yeah, so you guys are right down in that area, Wibby, FAs. It'll be tons of growth.
That whole little district that they're trying to build up is just going to be. I mean, the next couple of years, it's going to be amazing. They're trying to rival Pearl Street down in Boulder, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Just don't copy the people. Just copy the street.
Yeah, be different for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, where do we go from Hefes and Wibby and Copper Sky, and that's all what we got currently going on. That's kind of where we're at. And what do you got coming in the future? What's the next project? What's the next big one?
Just launched company number 5 a week ago. It was, I'm sure you saw, again, social media posts, Rick House Spirits Company.
Yep.
It's a brokerage. You and I have been chatting about it, doing some business on that as well. Basically a spirits brokerage just to help either small distilleries or other guys that want to do private labels. Kind of focuses that effort and takes that off of Copper Sky, because I really love helping people. So I was always trying to help them through Copper Sky. Now there's its own entity, which kind of brings me back to what we were talking about. You and I keep starting these companies and these organizations and these nonprofits, and they all feed into each other. Yeah, and I think that's
very
where
circular. You
and I are different, is when we have business opportunities, they're not all isolated.
Right.
They help each other succeed.
Tons of synergy, tons of circular revenue.
They take care of each other, and then they're also independent of themselves. So that's one thing. I was talking to someone the other day and just giving some business mentorship. I was like, if you create companies that help each other, right? I own a distillery. Then I started a spirits brokerage that can source whiskey and also
removing the middleman from all your different stages.
Right. I mean, there's people in the industry that own glass companies, so they don't ever have glass problems. Right. I mean, yeah, somewhere down that supply chain, if you can have your hand in it, it'll be helpful. It'll be rewarding. But yeah, all kind of stuff going on. We got this podcast coming on. I mean, geez, this is going to be a good time. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited, man. It's more when we get into, especially at this time of year, right? So you've kind of lost most of you. Got basketball in the middle of their season. You've got football in its heyday. Yeah. You've got college and NFL right in the front. You got MLB about to come down to the playoffs. Women's WNBA last night. We were sitting down having dinner. You had Thursday night football and WNBA playoffs going on all over the bar. So I mean, it's just like for sports wise, it's like prime, right? And it's like, and that just gets me so hyped. It's like every week, and it's like somebody telling you, it's like you jump into all this, but then it's everything else peaking around it, and all these other avenues that we have going on. It's always fun this time of year.
Yeah.
And then you start running into holidays, all this other stuff. But man, football. What's going on? I was going
to say, that's a great transition. Let's talk about our sports team, since we tell everybody
what's going on that side of town.
Well, I'll let you know real quick. Roll Tide.
Ah, fuck that.
Here we go.
Now we're definitely,
I knew I could get it out of him. So 20 minutes in, I got it out of him.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to go on the, when we start talking, that's when the disclaimer should pop up. Right before we go into the sports.
Right.
It's like, then the disclaimer comes up and say, hey, this might, for the sensitive eyes and ears.
So being a Bama fan, then what made you say that?
Oh, go Tigers all day long.
He's talking about LSU too.
LSU, Louisiana State
Not
University.
Auburn. Mark's an Auburn graduate, so he's an Auburn Tigers fan.
There's a lot of Tigers out there, not the real ones. There's also a place that likes to call themselves Death Valley for some odd reason, as if like we weren't the real. But let Clemson do their thing. Another Tiger trying to come in with it.
How many different Tiger variants are out there? So that's our college teams. What about pro? Who do you go for?
Oh, Saints, LSU are die hard all day. So when it comes to football, Saints and LSU, there's no in between. Season ticket holders at both. We love to go down as often as we can. Before the kids, man, we're down there 5-6 times a year.
Jeez.
Now we just try to get down there whenever we can, if it even happens. I don't think I've been down there in like a year at this point. Then you start hitting hurricanes, see all this stuff in between. So it's like we never even get a chance. But I don't know that I'll make a single game this year again. Hope to, but I might have to catch an away game before it's any better than getting down to Louisiana to catch one.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, Saints, LSU, my Saints, everybody's dogging on us right now. We had a great first game, and then everybody's looking at game 2 as if like that's where we're going to be. But I'm telling you, look, about 10 of our starters were out. We had a lot of holes. The Panthers, they executed, did what they had to do, took advantage of our holes for that game. Put Jameis on his toes the whole time.
Right.
So everybody's I've seen the memes all week. I just want everybody to keep that energy. Week 10, week 14.
Right.
Remember all the memes in week 2 when we're sitting at a 10-4, 12-2, somewhere in that range. I don't want to hear that noise.
We'll definitely see. So my team's, being in Colorado, I'm close to them, but my college and pro team are vastly different. Bama, of course, we didn't have pro sports in Alabama. Right. That's why I'm a Braves fan. Everything is outside.
TNT, TBS, I was saying, Braves fan.
I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan. So being here right up the road, season tickets, took me 8 years to get season tickets. I had a super long waiting list. But yeah, diehard Broncos fan. What do you mean you wonder why?
Why do the Broncos have a waiting list for season tickets?
We have very loyal fans.
Can you guys just pick some up in the parking lot? And I literally mean pick it up off the ground?
Well, no, everything's digital now, so we don't have those tickets. Yeah. But I'll be at the game this Sunday. We'll be out there. Hey, Bridgewater's looking really good.
You're never going to hear me talk bad about Bridgewater. I wish we would have kept him. I wish he was able to hold out a couple more years. He deserved his opportunity to start.
Right.
I wish he was able or in a position in his life where he didn't want to have that starting job and he could have sat 1 or 2 more years behind Drew.
Right.
Because that's who we'd be riding with him all day right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be
Love
a guy.
Terry.
So thanks for giving him to us.
You're welcome.
We appreciate it. He's looking really good here in Denver. Yeah. We haven't had a scrambling quarterback in, 20 years.
And think about that, though. Think about who he was when he came out of Louisville. Think about what he was doing for the Vikings before that leg injury.
Right.
And had to sit, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it ended up being. And you look at him now and players like that can still do what they're doing.
Right.
Holy shit. Imagine what would have happened if he never got hurt.
Yeah.
What level, that's what's crazy. I've never dogged on Terry. I loved having him there. Anybody sitting behind Drew, too. Somebody like that.
Yeah, good mentorship. I think that's why he's such a humble player, too. You don't see him in press conferences. Look at me, look at the clothes I'm wearing.
Speaks differently, walks differently.
And that's what
holds himself differently.
That's how the Broncos are as an organization, though. They don't like, outlandish, loud players. You do your job, you do it well, and you have fun.
But speaking of Broncos, so I've had to have seen at least 5 different new owners in the last 2 weeks of who's potentially buying the Broncos in 2022.
I have no idea.
It started with Jay-Z. It went to Bezos is big. Amazon. They're talking about Jeff Bezos coming in and snatching them up.
The Manning family's in there.
Well, they were talking about Manning and Elway, whether or not because they want apparently, and again, this is all, quote unquote from other sources,
right.
Whether or not, but apparently the family would love to have Manning involved in actual operations.
Yeah.
But you got Elway, who's already had kind of that role that really wasn't that successful for you guys. But they're talking about him wanting to be part of ownership. Now, do those guys end up on competing teams, competing ownership bids, or are they working on a team together? Neither one of them can afford it solo.
Oh, no.
Now Bezos, he can come in and buy the entire NFL. He can run the whole league if he felt like it.
Yeah.
But same thing, you bring somebody in like that. Think about it, you got to have a vote, right? Any new owner, there's a vote amongst owners in the NFL. Right. They've got to pass. Now, Bezos can come in and buy any one of these teams, and he's by far he has more of a net wealth than any of the combined NFL ownership groups as a whole. He is worth more money than every single let that settle in for a second.
Yeah, he just went to space because he was bored.
So there's right. Hey, what are you doing Thursday? I'm going to take a trip real quick out of orbit, but I'll see you on Friday morning. I'll be right back.
I'll be back at the board meeting.
Yeah, so no big deal. But think about it. At the end of the day, that's a mini commissioner.
Yeah.
How are you telling someone with enough net worth to literally control and buy the entire league what to do?
Maybe that's what the league needs to shake it up. Because it's a nonprofit organization that is driven off of profit.
It's a billion dollar nonprofit organization that definitely puts a lot of profit in a lot of people's hands as far as where the nonprofit part
and so you got
from.
A guy like him that comes in and he's like, hey, I've got enough money. My team's going to be driven off of business decisions, not off of how much money can we make.
I did see a good little argument too, though. It was why give him the opportunity to buy the Broncos? Why not approach him as the league themselves? Then you finally have someone that actually has the worth that can put money behind a team in Europe. What about the London team that they've been talking about wanting to do? Put that team over there. Now, if you needed somebody that could lose a little money for a few years, build new infrastructure, you're going to have to lobby government officials. You're going to have to be from every level of government, from city all the way to, the highest level overseas. Someone to have that worth to be able to do it and put their own money behind it. Who else? That's the guy.
Yeah.
But so how do you approach that? But then you look at Bezos and it's what do you choose? Do I go and spend all this money, potentially lose money to set up this whole hotspot overseas? Or do I just go buy the Broncos and put a foot down in Colorado for much cheaper?
It's no secret he likes Colorado too. Right. They looked at building, they built all kind of plants out here.
Well, he likes power too. He likes influence. He likes money. He's got all the 3 tangibles, right? To
tech right down the road.
Do something.
Boulder and
Lockheed, space, travel. The Air Force bases all over the place. he's got the good surroundings for the stuff that he seems to be into.
Right.
If he were to be the guy to come over now, Jay-Z would have been my pick. I don't know about everybody else. I was down with Jay-Z coming through.
Okay.
Because then you're just looking
Doesn't
at
he own the
Beyonce at
basketball?
every halftime.
He owns the basketball team, right?
I forget which
Brooklyn?
team he was in. He was part of Brooklyn, but I think he's already dropped that.
Okay.
I think he already let that go and sold it back.
So
but he
has,
was like the face of Brooklyn when they first came out. Which, you got to always have. Like Nelly is part of Charlotte, because
Right.
that's his whole area. There's Bow Wow's part of Atlanta, the Hawks. So you got all these
Jay-Z
rappers.
has pro team ownership experience.
I don't think you go that way because the guys we're naming are more of like, how would you, ambassador owners, right?
Gotcha.
Drake in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
Just all these guys. I want to say Usher in Cleveland has ownership of the Cavaliers and all LeBron. So I think those guys are more ambassador, more it brings fans and other eyes that the league otherwise or that team otherwise wouldn't have access to, and it's more that way. So I wouldn't necessarily say Jay-Z was in there, picking lineups, but
he's not in the draft.
Yeah, I mean he's not
Come
giving
on.
advice and scouting reports or anything. But yeah, I mean I would have been all for it. Beyonce on a random, Sunday in Denver at halftime, some Destiny Child throw. I mean, we could have had everybody out there. So, yeah, I mean, and who else you got besides NFL? So you mentioned the Braves earlier.
Yep, Braves fan.
I think we're in the same boat. Like there was nobody in the South MLB wise. I mean, the closer you had was Houston, so we'd always go catch Houston. But when you fall into that line between Houston and Florida, there was no professional team. And then growing up inside, you also had basic cable. TNT and TBS was two of the main. And then Ted Turner owned the Braves, owned those channels. So, I mean, it was always every single game was on TV. Yep. So I think that's more
closest one to drive
thing.
to. Go to Old Turner Field.
Oh yeah,
definitely a Braves fan.
Way back when. Yeah, I've got Chipper Jones signed foam fingers from way back in the day. Mark Lemke.
Oh,
like very,
Fred
very
McGriff, man, the crime dog.
Yes.
I went to Chipper's last game, and that was a fun, emotional game.
I remember seeing that was crazy. Yeah. 20 years, wasn't it? 19 years?
Yeah, right. All with the Braves. Yeah.
My whole childhood of baseball, early 90s, all the way through was all Braves. Yeah, Chipper was part of all that. Those one championship out of like 10 World Series in the 90s.
Yeah.
At least they got one, more than we can say. So,
who's your ball team?
Braves. I mean, I follow the Braves. Now, I was stationed in Jersey whenever I got into the service before going overseas and whatnot. I was stationed in McGuire Air Force Base in Jersey. So I kind of fell into that whole road, but spent a ton of time in Brooklyn. Right. I had met a guy in San Antonio in our training, and then we both got stationed there, but he was from Brooklyn, Jamaican kid. I mean, I spent, I'd say 90% of my off time was in Brooklyn during that whole period when I was in Jersey. So I kind of fell into that rat. They go, when you're on that area, you're either a Boston fan or a Yankees fan. And I grew up, there's not a day in my life I'm going to root for a Yankee. I don't care who you are, where you come from. You be from my hometown. You put on the pinstripes, it's a wrap. So that's why I root for the Red Sox. Yeah. So I've got excuse me, now we're going NFC, AFC. We're back in baseball. But yeah, so I've got one from each side. I've got Braves and Boston that I root for each year. If we ever get those guys in the World Series together, that'd be great.
Oh yeah,
wouldn't be a problem on my side. But yeah, and then we're talking about that though. A little sorry, but I was stationed up in McGuire for Air Force. So that's ages ago now. I got out in 2005. You've got some military government experience in the back as well, and I think that's some stuff we'll touch into more. I feel like for me, like I don't ever go super deep into a lot of that. My wife still doesn't know a ton of, and then she's always, well, you don't tell her. I was like, yeah, like I don't. Like there's a
reason.
I don't.
Right.
And so do a bunch of people, right? But I mean, I think that's stories that are more, for me, they're more like situational, kind of like day-to-day event, more like global events, like things that are kind of going on in the current event situation when they kind of trigger things or pop up and certain conversations come up and you kind of just start to either go back to some of those and you start thinking about it way too much, or you look at some of these people and you're just kind of like, God, give it a fucking rest. Like there's a reason we don't talk about it. There's a reason we don't want to get into all that. Like kind of let it go a little bit.
It's usually like if I'm connecting with another veteran, it's easier to talk about it.
flows.
But the random people are like, oh, I heard you lived in Pakistan. Yeah, sure. Thanks. Cheers. See you later.
Yeah, it's good too.
Yeah.
But then you walk away and go, how do I know that guy?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Was that random?
Yeah, no. It takes a long time sitting there sharing a drink before I'm going to open up about a lot of these stories. And there's still some, like you said, that'll just never come out.
No, and I think those will be, again, like situational episodes, situational guests, current things going on that'll kind of get us in a different mindset to kind of want to talk about those things,
right,
or kind of dive down some of those avenues, things that, I mean, look, it molded the shit out of me. You ask anybody from my hometown, they're all looking at me like, what the hell are you doing? How'd you even get to this point? You know, I mean, half of them probably thought I'd all be locked up still. And some of them remember me being locked up at that time.
Oh, man.
And I probably thought I'd never amount to anything past that. But, you know, the military change, I mean, that's where I got the entire mindset, drive, just determined, like, you know, like put your head down and get it done.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't want to, there's, again, that whole other different set of stories for everything before, everything in between, everything after.
Right.
Molded a great part of my life. I still, you know, to this day can remember a lot of things that are very simple. I mean, all the way back to boot camp. I had this TI tell me one time, he was like, there's a reason you got to fold your shirt 6 inches. If you think it's bullshit, like there's literally like every reason. If I can't count on you to fold this shirt for the period that you're going to be here in boot camp, 6 inches every fucking time. Excuse me, it's military. It starts coming out. So every time
brings the best or the worst out in us. I don't know.
Yeah. So how can I expect you as a plane mechanic, an airplane mechanic, a helicopter mechanic, not to leave a boat out?
Right.
How can I expect you to trust you that every single time you maintenance, you didn't put every single boat back so that you don't kill that entire crew when they take off for that next flight? Those little things, right? Because it's consistency, it's you know, attention to detail, just all those things. I've carried that on to every single thing after, and I always remember that quote: "If I can't count on you to fold a 6-inch shirt, how can I count on you to do anything at all?"
And it
makes sense.
It's such a simple concept, but I think that's missing.
So many. This whole, I mean, don't get this into generational talk and stuff.
We're not going to go on that tangent just yet.
Yeah.
Episode 1, we can't already isolate. We can't already isolate viewers.
the entire demographic that we're going.
Oh, well, they just unsubscribed.
Yeah. So and then I'm sure that we'll dive into a lot of that stuff. As it comes, and then again the same thing as we have different guests on that are going to be very topic specific. We'll obviously dive into some better things on that, whether it's, you know, musicians, bands, comics, therapists, PTSD therapists. I'm sure are going to open up a lot of military talk. Sex therapists. I'm married, been married before. On the same, I think it was the best thing that ever happened was to go through that first one, because now I knew everything that there was to kind of do and not do. At least all the things I definitely didn't want to do again. So marriage, you know. Cannabis. We're in Colorado. There's no way we're not going to talk cannabis and kind of get things going.
On that one, it's not just the simple, you know, chemistry. We're talking about like some deep, like we've got friends, you know, the guy behind me, he's a chemical engineer and like doing some crazy cool research.
Creating a lot of like centrifugal equipment for the cannabis industry, extraction. But when you talk to this guy, it's next level. Oh, yeah. It's, you know, I come from a background in the oil field too, where my companies were very specific, where we used centrifuges for everything we did.
Absolutely.
And solids control, water remediation, and all the stuff that we were doing. A centrifuge was, like, without a centrifuge, you were dead in the water.
Right.
Like, you needed to rinse. So what I know from my own knowledge of what can be done with a centrifuge, I mean, this guy's doing some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, in this thing, I mean, he's thinking, see, this is where we're going from, like Bezos and Tesla and Elon and all these guys and all these like super forward thinking people. Like that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, he is
super forward thinking. Everything he's doing back there.
We'll get him on. I had lunch with him yesterday, and I was already prepping him like
peeking.
I got to get you on the show, man. You're doing some
somebody back there.
Some research that people don't even know exists. So it's really cool.
Yeah. I wonder how much he's going to be willing to put out there too. That's the other thing is when you start talking to some of these guys where they're like, I'm doing something,
there's a lot of NDAs.
Like I don't know that I necessarily can go into too much depth on it. Just I wonder how open you would be. But those are the type of guests that
are fun to have on to kind of go into detail about stuff that's going on now.
Right.
Because he's so far ahead of the research, he can easily explain what we're
for sure
we're in right now. Like some of the different things in cannabis and distillery talk, and I think current events is going to be a fun one.
Yeah,
when we talk to people about
as it happens. what happened the night before, especially than the weekend before. I mean, I think what us do on the hopefully like a Tuesday, Wednesday situation that puts us in such a good spot to talk about everything that just went down Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Right. What's coming up on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday.
Help people with their fantasy leagues, No,
I'm not helping anyone.
I mean, just buy
Champ all day. Champ all day. Advice comes monetary.
So that'll be what we'll talk about. We can do that. We can monetize that.
Yeah.
I've already had. I helped Kaya draft her fantasy team, and she is crushing her league. And so she showed her lineup to a few people, and they're like, "Hey, can I contract you next year to do my draft?" Because to me, like there is a strategy to drafting.
Now, does your league, before you go too much,
I'm not. I don't even participate.
Know that you picked her team?
Yeah,
and they're okay with that.
Yeah.
See, you'd get a lifetime ban. You'd get the ban hammer from my league.
What lifetime ban?
Can't happen. Like if you're not playing, you're not picking, you can't handle it, don't play. Oh, yeah, no, see, we can't do that. Those are fun.
Yeah, it's just a $5, let's have fun with some buddies.
That's different.
But see, I don't even have the time to do my own. I haven't done a fantasy team in 10 years.
Right. I feel pretty solid about mine. Like, I usually just leave it. Like, when you feel pretty solid and like after it goes, you can just let it be. You're like, no, I'll ride this lineup for like 6 weeks. Somebody gets, I think I'm good.
Jeez.
I think I was like 100, almost 180 last week.
Holy smokes. But
yeah, I picked some good guys. I got one name on, I think we're on like year 7. I've got one championship under my belt so far on the family trophy that gets passed around.
We can do an out of league. So this week, let's see what your points are. We'll see what her points are.
We can do pick'ems too. Like that'd be the other thing is like we can even just go into all the games, go into everything that's going through the betting lines.
Oh man,
we can really get into it. That's just going to be fun. It's like the thing is we've got a 2-hour spot, and I feel like there's going to be plenty of days though where we're going to do 3-4 hours, and we're going to be like, all right, we can only use like this is supposed to be a 2-hour show, a 1-hour show. Like, we got to cut this down,
right? Yeah.
But then we'll have so much extra time. We got stuff to talk. We'll have plenty. He's like, no, I'm out.
He's hitting end record.
Like we're rolling.
I got things to do.
We're definitely going to speed up this education part where you guys start taking over on your own. Then, like you guys are going to be doing this solo in a few weeks. And then I think we circle back again. Bourbon, like we're always going to have bourbon, because the politics come into play when we start talking. We're for the most part probably going to steer clear from a little bit again, other than current events and like major headline stuff on national politics.
Right.
I think because like why dirty the waters? We'll do as little as we can. But then when it comes to like state politics though, and stuff that affects liquor stores, bars, all the need to go laws and things like that since COVID, and whether or not those are here to stay, or how they're going to change. Bar owners, restaurant owners, liquor store owners, distillery owners, club owners, all these different things. I mean, because that's I think is probably more of what they're going on the political side.
I mean, just last week I had to sit in a meeting with the state liquor enforcement board. They just passed a whole bunch of new laws, and how does that affect us? So, yeah, there's some fun stuff out there, and then definitely, again, like with the politics, when we have fun and kind of chit chat about that, we'll have someone on the show who is, either because there's a few new candidates who are running this year. There's some incumbents who are trying to get reelected.
Sure.
So I think it'd be fun to get them on and just kind of ping them.
Give them their spot. Give them their spot to put it up.
There's a couple
they're trying to do
that we won't name yet because we haven't got their endorsement, but they align with our military background. They're veterans, and I think what they want to do in Colorado is super positive. So they would be fun to kind of get on and just give them a platform to educate people, because that's the biggest problem with voting right now is not everyone knows what their candidate stands for. Just a name.
Oh, cannabis?
Oh, on anything, any.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought we were just on the bourbon side, and then chemistry. Yeah, I hear you. Definitely, it's both sides.
That's gonna be a fun one, because backtracking on my profession, I used to teach an American government class at the undergrad level, and I got lucky and got to teach one year during an election year, a presidential election year. So some of my assignments were always like, hey, pick a candidate that's on the other side of someone that you would typically vote for, and just do some basic research. We're not asking you to vote for them. I'm not asking you to change your mind. And in the academic world, that rarely happens. Usually they become more entrenched when they do opposite research or opposite.
Well, and nowadays what I always tell people too, because me and one of my brothers have this conversation pretty often. And here's one of the things that I would always throw at him is do that extra research, but do it off of your usual platform. Whatever your usual source of news platform, whatever that is, typically is, and you're really into, you're like, man, I want to need to know a little bit more about that. Try doing that research off that platform, and then see where that takes you.
Right.
see how that changes and kind of molds up here, because I feel like too many people are so one sourced in their information. You're really getting it from the same 5 people. You're getting it from the same 5 or one media head running that one source that's really putting their agenda out there. And it's like, how do you really know what's going on if you're only listening to the same 5 people over and over again?
When I used to watch the news, I would always watch opposite of what I believed in. Like I would watch, the most outlandish, I'm not, CNN's a little crazy sometimes, but I would watch opposite just so I could see what other people like. What do you think about this topic? Because it's hard to have those conversations. Already getting the cutter ready.
As we said, we're not going into politics and then spend the next 10, 15 minutes talking politics.
No, not happening. That's a good looking cigar there. What you got?
Little happy there.
Oh boy.
I bought one for the 3rd Mark. We got one for you on the back end too for when we're done here.
Good looking stick right there.
Yeah. Figured these would be a good occasion one for day 1, episode 1.
Yeah.
Numero uno.
Yeah.
Bought in plenty to drink along with them to pair up.
We can also have some fun too, because Mark, the soundboard that we have, we can take callers.
Oh yeah.
So if there's ever a week we don't have a guest, we can go like old school radio, like call in. Let's have some fun.
Hey, I mean, I also look at that. It's like, that means we can prank call.
Oh God.
That means we can call people out of bed. That means we can do stuff after and kind of have that on our,
fingertips
the old
ready
school. To go.
What's that old show? Crank Yankers.
Oh, right.
We used to prank call
Hilarious.
people. Man, that had me rolling.
Childhood right there.
Oh gosh.
Isn't that bad though? If your childhood was molded by crank yankers?
My childhood was not molded by. I'm just saying, like that style of pranking is fun to me.
Right.
What else you want to talk about before you wrap this up? So don't want to make the first one too long. We want to hook people, otherwise they'll think we're crazy.
I think that was a good kind of vague run through of what to expect as we kind of go into specific guests, specific topics down the road, without keeping it, too broad, but then also kind of slightly diving into a little bit of those hot topics and what they're going to expect. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a great story. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that can, especially when they see the excitement that we both have. I mean, I've been just eager to jump in this thing since we started talking about it. I was like, man, let's just go. Like, let's just full board. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
It seemed, I imagine when people see me, especially on social media, they're like, this dude just jumps in and does everything. Right. No, I've been wanting to do a podcast for like 2 years. I wanted to start a distillery for years, but I just act really quickly when I make the decision. So
people call it impulsive. I just call it decisive.
There you go.
I was just like, no, I just know. Like, we're either doing it or we're not doing it. Or if we're going to do it, then we're doing it.
And we're not going to half-ass it if we're doing it.
Why would you? Right?
It's not fun that way.
Then we got to come back and do it all over again? No, I'm all right. So, but yeah, I mean, that was one thing we did somewhat rough talk about our intro, and we did absolutely zero on the exit. So, any closer, any kind of thing.
Our shameless plugs of all of our handles, personal,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
you got to step your Instagram game up. I tagged you.
No,
you're there.
See,
you're
the wife
on
does
Instagram.
the same thing. Listen, I'll do the. I'll be like, go check it for me. I don't have Instagram. She's like, you have Instagram. I was like,
you have an Instagram.
You're talking about an Instagram that was created, I don't know, 2012 that I might have had for like 4 weeks and 4 days. I was let me throw a picture in there and see how this works. And I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. And then it's just been gone. So I don't think I've had it. I think there's 4 pictures, 5 pictures tops from 2012, 2013.
Yeah. It's definitely a platform I've had to get. Like, a lot of my staff is young, and it's like, hey, Instagram's where you got to be. So I'm trying to step up my Instagram footprint. Yeah, I tagged you, so you're there.
Let's just get all this done before we have to have a presence on TikTok.
Oh, I'm not doing that.
Not a chance.
We can have an intern. Yeah. I'm not doing TikTok. I barely know how to do Instagram. I keep forgetting you got to have a picture just to make a comment.
No, like she'll show me something on her phone, and I'm just sitting there. She's like, "No, you can't Zoom." It's like, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
like,
I mean, most of our Facebook posts for Copper Sky and Instagram is our amazing marketing team. I don't even do that. When I try to post a picture on Facebook on Copper Sky, I get a text immediately from the marketing team. Who gave you access? What are you doing on Facebook? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, you need to prove that first.
Yeah, right. That's basically
Run
what it is.
Run that through us.
Like, my pictures are all like super zoomed in. Like, that's not the right formatting. I'm like, it's a picture, right? It goes.
You didn't use the right filter.
Oh, Jesus. No. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess, well, then we'll step yours up. What is I think your Instagram is just Cody Vice, isn't it?
I think so. God, I hope it is. And we're going to tell people it's Cody Vice.
It's your picture
we're
on
going to be showing something random. If that is what it is, I promise I will log in. I will figure it out. I will know where I'm at. I'll put that in the bio. Right now, it's mainly Facebook. But you guys will see us, Atypical Intellects. Make sure you check us on there, and you guys will see us posting as ourselves, but also under the banner and the brand, kind of letting you guys have a peek at everything we're doing, because we're going to connect most of what we're doing into this as well. So you kind of guys will see a little bit of everything and peek into all those worlds. Colorado Bourbon Trail, that's the next big one.
Oh, yeah.
Again, we don't want to go keep seeing the time of where we're at popping up on us. But Colorado Bourbon Trail is the next big thing that we've got that's coming out that we're going to try to push for Colorado. I mean, obviously everybody's familiar with Kentucky Bourbon Trail that has any insight into bourbon world or any kind of passion about bourbon. And we really want to mimic what those guys are doing. We want this to be kind of a state-backed tourist, not so much of a tourist, but more of just something that everyone knows there. We want people, when they're thinking about planning a trip to Colorado, or even people that are looking, they're looking for something they want to do on that weekend or the next date night or the next birthday or whatever that occasion is. We want them to be able to come to Colorado Bourbon Trail, find all the places, find all the restaurants and bars, distilleries, experiences, tastings, classes, everything. We want to give them a central location in that. And that's what we're working on. And we're going to start that off with a charity raffle. Raise a bunch of money for nonprofits, and that the Bourbon Trail is going to be behind in everything that they do. And I don't know where the camera's at and how much they can see.
He's going to get some
pretty cool bottles out there, and then we'll tie all that in. That's the next big one. Once we get that out, we feel like all the other stuff is just kind of coming behind it. It all supports that. Kind of everything that you guys are doing, and the Colorado Distillery Guild and the Spirit Trail, and just really bring it all together. That's our goal. So that's the next big one we're trying. So other than cobourbontrail.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. What's our YouTube channel? For the Atypical
Intellects. Yeah, it's just the Atypical Intellects.
It's all the same across all?
Yep. So it'll be this, this is our little logo that's in most of our profile pictures right now. So you can find that. We'll, update content. But yeah, on all the social and video platforms across, it's just the Atypical Intellects. That's Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because the videos are going to get really fun when we start having guests on here and doing crazy things. We'll do giveaways. Cody and I are two very charitable people. We probably give away more than we should, especially for being business owners. But we'll do a lot of giveaways, just have fun, bring people on the show. So make sure, follow us at all those handles. I'm just Mike at Copper Sky, or Mike_Copper Sky on Instagram. I'm trying to get that up. And Copper Sky Distillery on all of our social handles. Follow us there. We got some fun new releases coming out of the distillery here, some finishing projects. As you know, when it gets to the end of the year is when all the distilleries release their really cool kind of allocated stuff. So we've got some really neat stuff coming out here in the next month or two. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be real good. Yeah.
I'm excited when we finally start getting into some of these groups. We're going to have to reach out to everybody to see who wants to be public. Doesn't.
Right. Yeah, that's why I've kind of
we've got a whole realm of stuff to talk about on that side.
Some of these groups they like to be underground. So,
of course.
I mean, you have to start throwing names out there just yet.
Not just yet. We're gonna clear some of those name drops first.
Of course, the great thing about this show is it's edited, so we can make sure, like, oh man, we slipped up.
Yeah, well, we can take it out. But it's like say Paco comes on. Like, that's a whole nother, like, we know that they're going to blast that in school. But then there's some of those other guys that I already know that are low-key. They're like, maybe we go under a synonym. Maybe I can be off camera and we can talk about it. And they just don't know who I am.
That'll be a fun, all right, counterintelligence investigation. Like, we'll black their face out and they'll get a different voice. Talking about bourbon.
Yeah.
A little Netflix documentary.
Well, cool. Like you said, you guys appreciate a like, subscribe, follow. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You'll start seeing the episodes drop. Spotify, iTunes, any platform we can get it, we're going to push it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, cheers.
Yeah,
I don't know who's got a pour or needs one, but
I'm hydrating.
Get you.
Thanks, guys. We really appreciate everything. It's going to be a good time.